It's me, Vera, here to remind you that this is an adult podcast. That means we're going to deal with tough topics. Take a break if you need it, and be kind to yourself, because we sure won't be.
Everybody, and welcome to Stitch of Fate, a Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition podcast. I am, as always, your storyteller, Mike Martin, and today is another one-on-one shot with another one of our players, and that particular player is dear old Chelsea, Little Red Dot, aka Vera.
Hi, friends.
Hello. I'm excited. Are you excited?
I told you I was a smidge nervous, which is not a lie. We've only seen Vera, like, mature Vera, put together Vera, has all the things she wants Vera. I don't think that's the Vera we'll see today.
No, we'll be picking up at a completely different point in time, a familiar point in time, I think, but I'm excited and nervous as well. I'm trying to think if I've ever done any one-on-ones before these four, and I don't think I've ever like done one-on-ones before.
Well, they seem to be going pretty well. People are hyped about them.
It's been fun. It's been fun to peel back a layer and show more trauma. That's always a great time. So we're going to do the same thing here with Vera, a different type of trauma. Don't worry, it'll be a good time. But before we do that, a big thank you to all of our patrons who are supporting and funding this show. We wouldn't be doing these in-between episodes or even a season 2 without you guys. So, and if you are just a listener and can't afford to pop us up on the Patreon, that's also amazing. The more ears that are listening, the better it is for us. So Spread the word. If you hear people looking for something like this, let them know. And hopefully they enjoy what they listen to.
And if you don't like it, just go tell your enemies, okay?
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Yeah, if you hate it, go tell all the people that you hate as well. I think that's everything out of the way. Now we have a nice little hour of Vera. As the scene fades in, and silence and blackness give way to the noise of honking horns, chatter, and distant sirens that is the familiar streets of New York, the night city streets are illuminated by flickering lights, neon signs, and gentle trickle of rain that pitter-patters on the sidewalk and asphalt. All that becomes secondary to the clacking of heels on that concrete sidewalk. A long, tall figure strides with courage and arrogance, one might even say, in their posture. On a night like tonight, what would Vera be wearing?
Well, if it's raining, she has a fierce trench coat on. Like, top to bottom, like, all the way to the floor. Would have to be. And it's probably made of something that's shiny, especially in the rain.
I love it. Does she have her gorgeous wide-brimmed hat on?
She's on business tonight, yes?
She is on business tonight.
She would not wear her hat for... she would not wear her hat for business.
No,
I imagine, like, the trench coat is cinched real tight around an extraordinarily small waist. And you actually don't see the lower half of her face. She wears a mask that covers, like, the lower half almost entirely from whatever she wears underneath it. All you see are her eyes and just that, like, blonde hair that's now drenched in the rain.
And as the camera comes closer and we get a top-to-bottom look of Vera in her business attire, her face completely covered by a mask, and she walks by it while the camera trails behind, even actually falling slightly back. We actually get a much bigger view of the pedestrians that make their way around Vera, though they still can't help but let their eyes gaze ever so slightly. But there's a gentle 6 inches that is always within around Vera that these people seem to avoid. But it isn't necessarily the fact that Vera has this imaginary force or bubble around her keeping mortals away. It's their attire that catches our eye. Bright neon clothes, shoulder pads, and dresses that are weirdly poofy in strange places, screaming the 1980s. And this night, Vera got a message from a very important kindred. The camera continues to trail as she turns down an alleyway, and she reaches into a nearby pocket by her left thigh. A simple slip of paper that was tied around the ankle of a rat that found her late tonight. What would Vera do on a night like tonight if she wasn't on business? How would she have been caught in the 80s on a night where she had no work to do?
I think Vera has the club at this point, so there's still a club, but it's probably not the succubus club we know today.
No.
I imagine there's a lot of voguing happening on the floor. There's a lot of neon and a lot less, like, underground. But I think Vera was probably caught, if she's doing this not in the midst of all of that, she was probably caught in her own dressing room, in her haven on the top floor, smoking a cigar in the dark by herself.
And there's a particular point in the top floor, at least around this time, in the 80s particularly, where the only spot within the room where a rat could squeeze its way in had made its way in tonight. A piece of paper, as I said, was tied to its ankle, and Vera merely plucked it before the rat scurried off with a squeak. And as we find ourselves in the alley, as she unfolds that piece of paper again, it's merely a name and an address with we'll call it a stamp, a wax stamp, to let you know that it comes from a very particular kindred, a Nosferatu by the name of Calibros. For those who are unaware, the 1980s New York is ruled by the Camarilla, but a Nosferatu Prince Pro Tempore rules, meaning merely temporary. But he has been valuable to the Camarilla, and Vera has found value under his employ. As Vera takes a look one last time at this name and this address, we see her walk by a small trash can on fire with a few homeless with their hands around it. She flicks the piece of paper in the fire, and very quickly it disappears, and she continues to stride by them, of course they also looking at you as you do so. Do you give any mortals any attention? Eyes can't help but be drawn to a toreador such as yourself. As dangerous as you may be, you are still beautiful and a work of art to behold.
No.
Completely ignored.
Vera has no interest in this. Like I said, I think she's on business tonight. We've seen her business before, but this is a different kind of business with a different level of import.
Because I can't help myself, the name on the piece of paper was Joshua. The address, the second floor of an apartment building that, as you've walked around, is supposed to be abandoned, condemned. As you make your way out the other side of the alley, on the other side of this block, as you expected, there it stands, on the other side of the street, sandwiched by two convenience stores, one boarded up and destroyed, the other open, with bars on their windows and graffiti sprayed all across it. But you can see on the inside, through the dirty windows, figures moving around and people shopping. A few lights still are on the ceiling of that place, but it's a bit weird and dark in areas. But that doesn't matter. It's the building in between that matters. And as you look up, it's all boarded up, and you see 0 lights on.
All right. No lights.
No lights, 3 stories, looks condemned and abandoned, supposed to be this person, this Joshua.
I'm guessing a fire is on the second floor, fire escape.
As we take a look, we see Vera take the building in for a minute, and at the front, yeah, there's a fire escape on the 3rd floor, but the ladder or what have you seems to be completely broken on the front. It doesn't go any further than halfway down to the 2nd floor. Mm-hmm. She strides across, the rain pittering across her leather attire and her trench coat, and now going from a trickle to a downpour roaring across the street with the cars as they pass by. Vera makes her way into the alley, squeezing between the rundown shop, the closed-down one in this building, and looks through the back. There's another fire escape in the back that goes down to about halfway past the 2nd floor. You could try and make a jump attempt for this thing. It's maybe 15 feet up, 20 feet up. That would be a dex athletics if you're looking to do so. Do you have any disciplines that might help?
Well, she would be able to keep her balance regardless. I was about to say, yeah, she has first level celerity, which means she has cat's grace. Balance and grace equal to that, surpassing a world-class trapeze artist. So,
Well, when you get up there, being able to stand on the railing and climbing up further will be no issue whatsoever. But this initial jump...
Yeah, we'll have to do... she's a dancer.
And you could, of course, rouse the blood and add a 1d10 to this if you wanted to just bolster your roll.
Well, it's not like it's going to be a small roll for her.
Yeah, you have 6 die pool base.
7.
Oh, 7 die pool base, my bad.
She looks around to make sure nobody's watching because the last thing she wants is somebody to watch her fail.
Sure, give me a quick wits awareness check. A quick wits awareness.
2.
Vera quickly looking over her left shoulder and her right, looking at, down each sides of the building as she's around back. Sure, there are pedestrians that are passing by, but none seem to be trying to take shelter in these alleyways from the rain.
I did not wear the right shoes for this. And she kind of backs up a little bit in the rain and gets a running start. And you realize when she says that she's actually not wearing normal heels. She's still on point. She wears kind of like a pair of leather, almost like leather ballet slippers. And she gets a running start. Here we go.
Any specialties that could help?
Well, she is a dancer, but her specialty's in performance, not the actual physical. But I got a 3.
3, and would you like to willpower or no, before I tell you?
I got willpower to spend. Let's do it. Why not?
It's just a one-off.
It is just a one-off. So I could re-roll 3. I could re-roll all 3 of them.
You add 2 more successes to that. So we watch as she takes a few long strides back, looks the ladder up and down to the ground, kind of internalizing how many steps she'll need. And with 4 long strides, we hear the quick splashes on the concrete below her heels. And then with a leap on that 4th, we see her very easily grab the 2nd bar up. And with that momentum, we just watch as Vera turns the grab and does like a back bend all the way up. Her stomach now kind of facing as she does a handstand, and her legs wrap around the top bar, and continuing with that momentum, using the locked legs and swinging up till she's now sitting, placing her hands at the very top, pushing herself up, and very gently, her 2 feet. She looks around, seemed silent. No one seems to notice. And as you look up the rest of the ladder, it'll climb all the way to the roof.
She checks something under her coat. You can't quite see it, but she makes sure it's still there.
Very quietly and quickly, she flashes her trench coat and seems confident that it's there.
And then, I'm guessing these windows are probably broken out.
Yeah, the windows that are nearest, you'd have to actually you could probably do it. You could you'd have to stand on the edges and then reach out to the windows themselves. They're boarded up. You don't know what the glass is past it. Or you can use the ladder and climb all the way to the top of the roof and see if there's a roof entrance.
Yeah, that's probably the better option. Yeah, she would like to go into the building physically, but she doesn't want to let the person know she's coming.
Sure.
So she'll go to the roof as quietly as possible.
Sure. Can I get a dex stealth check as now you're on around the 2nd floor-ish?
Another 3.
Yep, 3 successes. Would you like to reroll 3 die or no?
No, I think 3's enough for this.
And as the camera pulls back, taking in a full look at the building, and now Vera standing very confidently on the 2nd floor on the fire escape. With another very quick, swift 2 steps, we simply see Vera leap up this short ladder to the roof. It looks as though she glides from the layman's eye this far back, with how fast and elegant she is moving through the metallic ladder. And as you step up on the roof and you look around, while there's no door that leads in, there is a metallic trap door over in the right-hand corner towards the front of the building that would lead into some room.
Okay, perfect. She'll, as quietly as possible, kind of skirt in.
Give me another dex stealth check as you make your way across the roof. It's kind of got that, gravelly type stuff on the very top of it.
Yeah, so I got a 2.
You could reroll 3 if you wanted to use a willpower. You do have 3 spare.
You know what? No, screw it. She just needs to get in the building. So she just, as quick as she can, bolt across. Yep.
And she bends down to the trapdoor and you see her long fingers slide under the bar, grip it tightly, and she gives it a tug, realizing, of course, fuck, it's locked. Would you like? I'd rather pick the lock, or would you like to try and break the lock?
I don't know which would be better.
Dex larceny for picking. Strength brawl if you're just looking to break.
She can try to pick the lock. That's about as good as it'll get, which is basically just a dex check is all it is. She reaches into her hair and pulls out a bobby pin. She goes, "Isn't it?"
Would you like to actually rouse the blood and add a 1d10?
Okay, yeah, she would rouse for this one. Okay, success.
Okay. You do not gain any hunger.
So she'll add a d10 to this dex larceny roll, which is, like I said, just dex, everybody. Yeah, she reaches in her hair and pulls out a bobby pin. The, wet hair falls.
Mm-hmm.
Have...
Oh, my God.
A 7! Or 6, I'm sorry.
6, not a crit. Yeah, you didn't crit. You rolled, so many successes there. So 6 successes, and as we see Vera stride across the roof, and she takes a quick knee as she pops out, bobby pin out of her hair, she takes a moment and just concentrates. She feels the blood thicken and course through her, the beast even rouse for just a moment. And really what she's using this for is to have her senses become more fine-tuned. She can hear the tumblers in the lock that much better as she brings her ear to it, and with just a few quick turns and adjustments, and you can hear the last tumbler click into place, and with that, you can pop the lock out, and there gives the trapdoor gives a little bit of a way, and you can actually feel a slight warmer breeze coming from inside, hitting your hand now as the lock pops.
back into my hair. Might need that later. You never know.
And we watch as Vera stands up, looking down into what looks like probably somewhere on the 3rd floor, probably the hallway. And how would she fall in? Would she just take a jump and like kind of just swirl and land in a very elegant style?
How far from the ceiling to the floor?
Well, it's like 10 feet maybe, not very high.
Yeah, she would just like straight through this like.
So we watch her take a small kind of, she bends her knees ever so slightly. And with kind of a small spring, she clears the few inches between the floor and the now open trap door. And we watch as she plummets down into this brief darkness as there's not a lot of light inside, just a hanging light bulb that flickers nearby. And as the light bulb flickers a couple of times and we watch her land, on that last flicker, our scenery changes. Instead, now we're in a small dark room with one extravagant chair well lit under a spotlight. A gentleman with short hair, well-dressed, almost too well-dressed for the way he looks on the outside, so ever so plain, bizarrely plain, sits. His legs are crossed, and he seems to be gazing at something, though the camera holds tight on him and his entire figure. For some reason, our eyes can't be pulled away from him. No matter how plain he appears to us, there's something enticing, and the camera draws forward even slower. And as it approaches his face, it swings behind him, and now we are behind. And the camera pulls back, and we can see what he's gazing at. A similar figure, twirling not too far, maybe 10 or 15 feet. In a very classical ballet outfit. A musical score of some sort plays from a dark corner that no one can see. What song would be playing right now, Vera?
Oh, I imagine it was Swan Lake.
And so that's what we see you performing. Swan Lake in front of him. Perfectly. Could I get a dexterity performance check from you, please?
4 10s.
Wow, you double crit. 10 successes. Good fucking God, man. Holy shit. It's a perfect performance. And as the end of the song comes forward and we watch Vera flourish and launch herself and spin in ways that only a kindred could ever pull off. And she lands on her toes and bends her knees and collapses to the ground. The song ends, the lights go out. And then Vera in her business attire is once again visible as the light bulb flickers once more. And she stands from that crouching position, having leapt into this 3rd floor. You can almost hear the creaking of the leather as she stands. And now, before you is a pretty open floor plan. Sure, on the right, I think was supposed to be an apartment, but the walls have been completely destroyed. You can see some of the wood and horsehair plaster that still hangs from parts of the wall that still are at the top and the bottom. But for the most part, spray paint, destruction, graffiti, litter the entire 3rd floor. Can I get a wits awareness from you, though?
I only got 1.
Yeah, not your strongest suit. I mean,
Nope, not my strong suit.
for a moment, we see as Vera just kind of takes in everything. But the building creaking, the torrential downpour of the rain outside, it's hard to hear anything beyond that. What would Vera do now?
You said he's on the 2nd floor and I'm on the 3rd, so I need to find a way down.
You would need to find a way down, which likely there's a stairwell somewhere here. You're just standing above where the trapdoor lets you in.
Right, yeah. I'm going to as quietly as possible, try to find a way down to the next floor.
Can I get a dex stealth check here? You're going to get an additional 1 to your die because of the torrential downpour outside adding to...
Oh, that's true. That makes sense. So that's another 6.
Damn. Another 6 successes. That's another crit. Only Kindred, or maybe even Garu or something supernatural could hear the steps you're making right now. Because the camera hangs out in the corner where we landed with you. And we watch as Vera strides down what was probably a hallway between 2 apartments that now is just part of this one giant open floor plan that was improvised. And there's not a single sound with each step, her pointed toes landing quietly every single time. And the only noise that we hear on the 3rd floor is noise coming from probably a raccoon or a possum scurrying around, somewhere far from where Vera actually is. And as you make your way across this busted open floor plan, there is a stairwell over on the other side, leading down into what is presumably a loft on the 1st floor, likely. Like most apartment buildings like this, the stairwell ends up being like kind of a shared stairwell between 3 apartments, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a stairwell that would lead to the 2nd floor doors, but then down to like common lobby.
Yeah, so Vera will, in this very quiet way, almost like a spider, kind of spider across the space, riding the shadows the whole way there until she gets to the second floor.
When you make your way out to the third floor and you kind of have this balcony looking down the stairs, you look over to your right and you realize the stairs from the third all the way down to the first floor are completely destroyed. You can see the second floor doors and like a little landing that you can get to, but either you would have to try and climb down the busted stairwell or do something like kind of come up over the banister and try and like land on the down there. There's basically two different ways down.
She pops up onto the edge. She's having fun now.
Give me a balance check as you quickly pop yourself up onto the edge of the banister.
With Cat's Grace, I'm pretty sure I automatically succeed. Let's see what it says. Your user automatically passes any dexterity or athletics roll based on balance.
You don't even have to roll. It is. We watch as Vera. How does she jump? How does she like leap up? Does she push her?
Yeah, she just takes one simple leap up and then lands on point again, like on the edge of this railing. And whoever this is has no idea she's here. She's here for the fun of it now, and she does have a little fun. We might even watch her do like a back spring as she walks backwards, hands over feet, until she gets to the edge where she can see down and see that there's a solid place to land. And we'll probably see her do some kind of like backflip off to land to the second floor.
Dex athletics check, please.
Watch this be the one I bomb.
That would be amazing.
This is how Vera loses
She
a
got
tooth.
cocky.
Oh, so good. Nope, that's another critical success, a 7.
Jesus Christ, another 7. And as the camera kind of follows her in this kind of faux performance, as it swings out over the open ground between the third and the first floor as she balances on the banisters here, we actually see over in the left-hand corner as she approaches the fall that would bring her to the second floor, a little bit of a trickle of rain through a small hole in the roof that kind of illuminates just gently behind her as she finishes her slight minor performance. And just as she arrives there, she does that, would you say it was like a backflip or a...
Yeah, like a full, like, imagine she jumps and flips it.
I imagine she kind of arches her back on her hands, does that thing where she kind of goes backward on her feet, and then there's nothing behind her, but she continues anyway, and she does that back bend. And this time, as she plummets, she lands on her hands, quickly lands on her feet, and then can I get a dex stealth check as you land?
That's just 3, yeah.
3 successes, that's another 10 in there. Would you like to re-roll 3 or no?
No, I think that's enough at this point. Look, if he runs, this is now fun for her. He's dead anyways. He just doesn't know it yet.
That's fine. So for 3 successes, I will actually make my own roll here.
Yep. I'm now on his floor, so that makes sense.
Yep. God, I'll just I was going to GM roll it. I just flat failed. No success. Not a single thing above 5. It was 3, 2, 2, 3, 5. Okay. So, Vera, as you land and you kind of like stand up and once again finish your performance, that's when once again, as the camera follows her standing up, perspective once again shifts. As you finish standing up, the camera pulls back to once again show that room. Plain walls, the light off, but the camera spins around to see the gentleman still lit up. He stands very quietly and begins to just gently clap. How does Vera respond to that? I imagine this isn't the first time this has happened.
She never gets any audience, but the one person that gets to watch her dance, right? So she spins in like still, a full performance. She might even take a little bit of a bow.
As you spin in kind of full performance and whatnot, we actually see all the lights in the room just light back up, and Vera very openly kind of flourishing and bowing, and he takes another couple slow steps clapping at you toward and down. And as he takes another, like his third step down the stairs, we kind of, with that landing foot, that bassy whoomp, brings us right back to the second floor as you stand up and you're in front of the second floor door.
Is it closed?
Oh yeah, it's closed. Do you check to see if it's locked? Because it will be.
Yeah. I'm trying to decide. Here's a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, I imagine the walls in this place have holes in them. Everything's disintegrating. Why go through the door when the wall has a hole? So I imagine Vera, because she can, will like slink her way into one of the holes, if she can get through that way versus trying to like open the door, because they would expect people to come through the door.
There is a busted hole in the kind of concrete horsehair plaster amalgam off to the left of the door on the wall where there's no stairwell there. You'd have to make me a dex athletics check to get to the hole in the wall.
This one's important. She'll rouse for this one.
Okay.
Because if she can slip in without being seen, this will make this job easier. They're not as fun.
Okay. You do not gain any hunger.
That's good. Dex athletics plus another 10, 4.
It did roll. We just got a flat 4. You can reroll 3, actually, if you wanted to.
This one, again, probably is worth it. So 2 more, 6.
You had 2 more successes. That brings you up to a total of 6. And it's actually just a leap. This is not somewhere you have to climb. There's not like enough room for you to do a balancing act. There's like one spot you might be able to put your foot. But instead, we see Vera once again line herself up, kind of count the steps in her head. And with 2 steps, and on that second step, a large bending of the knee and a leap across the empty ground. And she quickly kind of flattens herself out horizontally, and we see her just kind of slip into the hole that's about 4 feet in diameter, pretty big. And as she lands on the other side, she quickly rolls. Dex, can I get a Dex stealth check? As you roll and land on your knee and your foot, kind of in a crouched position.
4.
God damn. I'm going to make a roll.
Yo, she's literally built for this. She's built for this and sass. That is it.
As we see Vera, the camera actually follows not through the hole, but through the wall. And we can see some of like that inside of the wall for a minute as it passes through and the audio gets muffled just for a second. And then we're in the same room as Vera as she lands, skids, and takes a moment. Wits awareness.
I got 1.
You got 1.
It's a 10. My eyes work.
While you don't hear, there's a moment we see Vera just kind of listening again. This second floor is not as destroyed as the third, and you can see why they probably ended up using this place as their main kind of hideout if this is where they actually end up being, like Calibros tells you. And you realize, yes, there are walls still, not as many cracks, not as many holes. But as you're listening, you hear very, very, very light, what might be interpreted as mumbling. But it's hard for Vera to be certain. The rain is still too loud, and this place is constantly creaking and with little animals scurrying about it anyway.
But there's no one in this room specifically.
Nope, you're in might be someone's bedroom at some point.
Okay.
But it's empty completely. It's just got glass bottles and graffiti.
Okay, she'll cross the room in her silence, take in whatever's in here.
This is nothing. Garbage and graffiti on the walls, and even the door is off its hinges and missing.
Oh, perfect. She'll kind of peer around the edge to see if she can sort out the possible noise.
Give me another wits awareness.
You know what? This rouse thing's been working for me. Okay, well now I'm hungrier.
Okay, you get to a 2 hunger.
But I'm gonna add a die to this roll. Hey, there we go. There's my 4.
4 successes. It's as we watch Vera make her way to the empty door frame and peer her way out, but with her back up against the wall, now seeing how dark it is in this room because your dark black trench coat and the leather that you're wearing is just nearly impossible to see unless you're beaming a light right on it. We see Vera sees actually nothing on the outside. It seems quiet and dark. It's only for a brief moment with those 4 successes that you see in the bedroom at the very end of the hallway where the door is still intact. What looks like a momentary glimpse of maybe a flashlight light under the crack of the door itself. It was brief and quick.
Oh, hi. It's me, Vera. While you're taking a break, take a moment to visit dieharddice.com. Die Hard Dice is a sponsor of this little podcast. They make what we do possible. During checkout, make sure to use the code STITCH-JAN, and you'll get 10% off your entire purchase. And we get a little cut for our own resources. Sounds like we only roll with the best.
Well, at least I know where he is now. My goal is to get to him. And I want to get to him as quietly as possible.
From where you are, as you peer out, it's basically just a hallway that leads to another bedroom on the right, which is what you saw, and then it leads to the open kind of mixed kitchen living room area.
Oh, perfect. Vera passes through. But there's nothing here. You said because it's all abandoned.
It's all abandoned. Like he's in this bedroom. It's likely if because you saw a flashlight.
Yeah. So she'll just cross the apartment if there's nothing else here and nobody else here.
Quietly or
yeah. Oh yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
3.
Okay. With 3 successes, it seems as though as you make your way up, let me make a roll real quick. It doesn't seem like anybody's noticed.
Great. And you said he is behind a closed door.
You're right up. You're like you're right up against the wall, right next to the closed door on your right. It's like right on your right.
There's a lot of debris and stuff, right?
Oh yeah, ton of debris.
This guy. She grabs a piece of a heavy piece of wood, something that was used for structure maybe, and just lobs it. Will it go outside the apartment, or is it all this internal?
You're all in the apartment right now.
Yeah, I lob it to the opposite end of the apartment building where she just came from to make a large bit of noise.
Sure. You don't need to make a roll for this. This is, you kind of reach down, like you said, you just find a piece of like 2x4 that kind of snapped off some interior of the structure. And as you see Vera weigh in her hand for a moment, she just quickly hucks it way back there, and it hits with a clatter. You even broke a bottle somewhere over there. You hear actually quick footsteps moving around in that room, no longer trying to hide. And after a few muffled voices, it sounds like somebody's making their way over to the door.
Great. I'm just waiting to trip them.
Okay. The door, eventually you hear the handle jiggle a little bit, and the door actually gets pulled inward, and then you see a foot step out. Do you wait for the whole body to, like, they're very creepily making their way out?
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Okay. I imagine as soon as we hear this person reach for the door, oh, this is when it starts.
Okay.
We watch as Vera kind of smiles. This is when the real performance begins, and she goes up on her toes the way a ballerina might, just a slight leap, but something happens. 2 blades come out the end of the shoes, and as the guy goes to pass the door frame, she's going to slice both of his Achilles heels.
Okay, you're going to make me a dexterity melee attack. You're called shotting, so -2, I believe.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and then rouse for this because I need it. Melee dex, so I got the 1, so I rouse, so it's just a -1.
Okay, so it's just going to be a total of a -1. And you have any specialties that could help?
Well, yes, I do, in fact. I have a specialty in melee knives, which this seems appropriate.
Yeah, I'd give you that. Definitely eliminate the penalty completely. And you're catching him off guard. It'd be a surprise, so you're rolling against a 1 defense.
So I got 3.
Okay, would you like to re-roll 2 of those?
Yeah, because once I get him tied up, he can't go anywhere.
Sure.
Getting him down's the big thing, so I'll go ahead and just roll 3 of them, because I want to hit it. Yeah, so there's another...
Yep, you had 2 more, so that's 5 successes total. That you have as once again you do this kind of quick spin, positioning yourself around them as they step out, and you can actually feel the gentle resistance before the immediate release as it snaps on both of the Achilles, and you hear a very sharp scream as they collapse to the ground. And as you spin to face them, it's actually you see a young girl like on the ground on her hands and knees, maybe in her 20s or so. And as you look over your shoulder to look at the rest of the room, there's a petrified man with a flashlight beaming towards your deck, like off to the wall somewhere, and then he flashes it quickly at you. Now we're in combat. What would be your next action?
Well, this girl's not really going anywhere, right?
You can't imagine if she would get anywhere far.
But she's screaming a lot, right?
Well, you did cut her Achilles heels.
Right.
Blood is spurting and pouring and pooling beneath both of her feet.
Vera looks down and goes, "Don't go anywhere." And looks across the room at him. She looks up and kind of smiles at this guy across the room. And she says, "But you, I'm looking for you."
And so what do you do? So you're at the door of this room. The woman collapsed in the hallway as you spun behind her and put yourself in the door frame on the other side of the door. He's like 10 feet from you. It's not an expense. It's not like a big apartment.
Then she will definitely, she'll cross the space in 2 strides easy. If he's that close.
Do you want to make an attack is my question.
Yeah. Oh no. This is, we don't just kill them, Mathas. There's a whole thing here. So she's going to cross the space and will definitely get in his face. She needs to make him go down. She's going to make another called shot for his knees.
Do you have a stake?
No, I have my shoes.
I know, but if you had a stake, you could just stake him. And he put him in torpor. He wouldn't be dead. He'd just be torpored.
Oh, okay. We see Vera undo the robe. And she undo this massive trench, and she just slaps it on the ground. It falls heavy. We see that she is not at all what you expect underneath. She's got a small suitcase strapped to her, the way you might wear an average bag, rope bound around her body. Maybe a couple knives on her legs is extra, because you never know. And she smiles and pulls from beneath very pale cleavage a rag, and she says, "I do love the smell of chloroform in the morning." And she runs over and is going to try to put him out for a period of time.
Before we get there, Vera would know he's thin blood. He don't need to breathe.
Oh,
Gotta kind of treat him kindred-esque.
that's okay. She can still pull something out. She can go to bind his hands.
Yep, you could go to, if you want to, you'd have to make a grapple check first. So we see Vera kind of stride across. And I would give Vera as instead of a strength brawl, which was usually the grapple, I'll let her roll a dex brawl for this. As she's using the cloth and she's just trying to get behind and whip the hands and wrap the hands up in a long scarf.
Yeah, or take his feet out. The goal is to get him down so we can bind the both of them. That's her goal.
Give me a dex brawl.
3.
3, and you could re-roll one of them if you wanted. Did you want to rouse before you did this as well?
Oh yeah, because I could feed on the woman. I'm here for that.
Yep.
Okay, great. I succeeded.
Okay, so you do not gain a hunger, and you add one more d10 to that roll. So go ahead and just roll me a 1d10.
Nope.
Okay, no successes, but still no hunger gained, so no harm, no foul. But with that, he's actually going to get an attempted resistance.
He was hiding, but he sent his girlfriend to the door, Mathas.
You don't know if that was his girlfriend. She could be another thin blood. You have no idea.
Well, it's okay. They're both going to get the performance of a lifetime.
3. Ties always go to the player.
Yeah.
And so we watch as Vera darts across the floor, very quickly kind of scoops up, grabs one of his wrists and yanks it in very violently. And the flashlight clatters to the ground, the light bouncing all across the walls and the ceiling for a minute before it settles and rolls against the nearby wall. And with a quick kind of couple twists and a knot, both hands are brought behind his back and then pretty masterfully restrained. And he's still standing, but his hands are completely bound behind him. And she did move. She dragged herself as far as she could, as with both of her forearms, as she's shouting for help.
He's not going any. I go and take his knees, I put my knee in his knee, and I run over and grab her by an ankle and start dragging.
Okay, so you kind of knock his knees. It won't really count as an action. It won't knock him down because you're not going to make a roll. It's just a quick action to be don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
What we see is you dart across the room again and grab her by just the leg, and just start dragging her back into the room.
Dragging her back.
Vera as she pulls her and even throws her forward against the floor, and she gets thrown to the center. Vera very calmly shuts the bedroom door behind her as she just stands before these two in another empty bedroom. The window closed. You can see the rain pouring down, hitting the window and trickling down. And the girl, not screaming anymore, but as she's kind of facing away from you, she's like, as she's just trying to catch her breath, but she's still bleeding, and you're not sure how much longer she's going to be conscious with how much blood has come out of her 2 wounds.
Well, it looks like you're bleeding rather quickly, so we should start this little performance, shall we? Vera goes over, binds her mouth. She's tired of hearing her talk.
Yep.
And binds his mouth, right? Binds their feet. And maybe sit them up. If there are no chairs in here to physically bind them
There are not.
She goes over and kind of sets them both up on the wall. She clears the space a little bit, takes the whole room in.
As you clear the space and sit them up against the wall, the girl, as you sit her up against the wall, at this point, she's already in and out. She's having a hard time keeping conscious.
I slap her. Stay with me. We haven't even started yet.
As you do so, her eyes dart open.
Now, both of you are in for a bit of a treat. Do you like dance?
He, the guy, the male, who's kind of sat there tied up, hasn't said a word. Looks like he tries to say something.
Good, me too.
Vera doesn't even care, huh? What he's saying.
No, this is her performance. Yeah. She goes over to the case that I imagine she's taken off at this point, and she clicks it open, and you see a small portable record player. She slides out a single 45 and kind of slots it on there. She says, my sire, he said when he brought me into this unlife, that I would never get to dance ballet for any eyes but his.
I need to make a roll real quick. Continue.
And then Vera kind of strides over. She says, so unfortunately, this perfect performance. Well, at least you'll be here, right? And Vera kind of grabs him by the chin and reaches in and begins to pluck one eye and his second eye from him to start.
Can I please get a Dex Athletics from you? Because he's making an attempt something real quick as you come strolling towards him giving the speech.
That was not good for me. But he's tied up, right?
He gets a huge penalty. He's only trying something very simple, though. He's not trying to run.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, that wasn't good for me. That I will willpower.
Okay. You get 3, obviously, to reroll. Poor bastard. He's not going to get.
Okay, that'll do it. That's a 5 success.
I need a crit. Come on, baby. I did not crit. Okay, well, as you walk over to him and as you're reaching forward, he actually tries to push himself up to his feet. But before he can even muster an inch or two off the ground, that's when you quickly grab him by the jaw and push him down. And we watch with your left hand, the index finger slowly gets unfurled from the clenched fist. And it's not quick. It's slow. At this point, as you look over, the girl's passed out. The blood has pooled so much beneath her legs, and you're not even sure she's alive at this point. But it doesn't matter. Looking back to him, he looks terrified. And your long, is it nail that you're going to use? Your fingernail?
Yeah, I imagine she kind of reaches in with both of her nails and scoops it out.
And it pushes through the right and left past the skin and the eyelids, and with a slow pull, you can hear the moisture before the sucking pop sound as you pull the first one out and loose. Do you pull it all the way, or do you let it dangle?
Oh, no. These have to come out.
I see. Do you pull until it rips, or do you cut the cord?
Oh, yeah, with her fingernail, she just slices them both.
And as you slice back one, and then you pull the other one out and slice the other and have them in your hand rolling around for a while, you actually watch as the eyes begin to very slowly decay in front of you. They first are white and have the crystal blue eyes that he once had, but slowly they go yellow and brown, and they ooze underneath you before even the ooze flakes away and becomes ash in your very hands, as he is almost in shock. He has his mouth open, and he looks like he should be screaming as blood, this thick vitae, pours from his eye sockets, but he says nothing. He's not able to muster enough to make sound.
She dusts his eye dust off of her, gloved hands. Yeah,
and as you dust the dust off, the camera pulls back to just show both of them in the shot, and it's just like a shot out of a horror movie as the moonlight only is ever to come in through the window occasionally as the rain pours down.
She says, now for the performance. We mustn't disappoint our sires. And she kind of looks around. She sets the girl up, even if she's passed out, sets her up. These are two new people she gets to perform in front of. And she does the same thing to the girl. She plucks her eyes out, even if she's dead.
As you kind of lift her head open and you actually pull her eyelids open, you reach in and pull, and there's no resistance. She never wakes up. She never comes to. You simply pluck the eyes out, and then her head lags to the side.
Do they dust?
No.
I look at our poor thin blood Joshua. This is why we don't eat with mortals. And she pries the girl's mouth open and pops both eyes right in.
And they go, you can like a moist as they get pushed into the mouth.
We can't have anybody finding those now, can we?
Do you shove the jaw shut?
Yeah, shut the mouth and
Yeah, you just hear the as the mouth gets shut, and her body, then you hear the slow slide against the wall as it slowly drifts to the right before it collides with the ground.
Oh, wonderful. And she kind of goes over and she uses a very bloody fingernail poking out the end of these leather gloves to lift the needle and slowly places it on this travel turntable, and then she kind of turns back and she says, now, where were we? And you see, still on blade point, she gets just close enough. You can see she maybe even puts a leg out at a full 90-degree angle as she kind of stretches and tests the space, and then the music kind of picks up through the static of the record.
What song is it?
It's Swan Lake.
Of course it is.
And she begins to dance, and as she does, it's the same dance from before, perfect and beautiful. But every time that leg whips around, at the end is an extra 3-inch blade. And it slices and it cuts each one of them over and over and over again until they are just meat bags by the end of it. And when she's done, blood is splattered all over the walls from her spins, but she's perfectly clean. Maybe she even wipes a little blood off of the vinyl,
Yep.
Messy. Retracts the 2 blades into the bottom of her leather ballerina slippers and lets the record kind of spin on the for a little bit after it's all done.
And then do you pack it up or do you leave it?
Leave them?
No, the record player.
Oh, no, that comes with me. That's her personal one. She kind of clicks and packs that up and slings it over her shoulder, redoes everything.
Your job as Scourge is done.
Yep.
A thin blood, dead. But your job isn't cleanup. You've never had to clean up your own mess. And so you enjoy the art And as the record finishes and everything gets packed up, the camera stands at the doorway. And we watch as Vera walks toward the camera, her rather clean comparatively. And with each high-heeled step, we hear the echo of a clap behind it as well. And as each step gives a resounding clap and rhythm, and she steps up to the camera, she walks into it, everything goes black, and we only hear the voice of Aster one time. It simply says, "Good job, beautiful." And that is where we'll end the one-shot. Brief glimpse into Vera's past and the profession she once worked.
And why she worked it.
Yep.
Y'all, if I could roll crits like that all the time, I'd play more VTM.
Incredible. You were rolling like Max was in his one-shot.
Very cool. Thanks, Mathas. That was nice.
No, thank you. That was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. Like a little snack, a little bite-sized.
Yeah, a little bite-sized. What was Vera up to before she was, lounging in a club?
And now I got to go prepare because we're going to go record Duke's one-shot.
That's right, yeah.
But thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for the support on Patreon and just enjoying the story. I hope these little tidbits are adding a little bit more depth and layers to these wonderful characters that our players have brought us for Season 1. And I am beyond excited to get going with Season 2. And I hope you all viewers will very much enjoy what's to come. Thank you all so much. We love you. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.